Hey guys, this is part 3 of our composition of functions. Whoops. Okay, let me go back and show you the answers to somewhere. Your check for understanding from the last video that we completed. Let me find it. Here we go. Okay, so these are the, let me just make it bigger so you can see the answers, and I will go to the right until you see all 4 answers. And again, feel free to hit pause if you need to see the work, okay? So 18, 19, 20, and 21, I had to write quit. So I'm just gonna move it all the way to the right as soon as this allows me to move all the way to the right, which right now it doesn't. Okay, there you go. It's moving all on its own. Wow, it doesn't allow me now to pinch it in. Oh. There you go. Okay, so here is the last check for understanding, number 21. Again, let me know if I have made any errors in calculating the answer, okay? We have one more example left. Let's find that really quickly. So we did all of that. That was just a check for you. So in your notes, you have example 22 left. So let's go and try to find that one. Example 22 said, show that f composed with g of x is the same thing as g is composed with f of x, which they both are equaling to x. So what you want to do is you want to prove this. Show that means you're about to prove it, and you are going to prove it for each question. You want to prove it both ways. F is composed with g of x, and it wants you to prove that to make sure it equals to x. So this is really that part 1, so I'm going to get a different color. And then over here we're going to do g composed with f of x, and it wants you to prove to see if it equals to x. So now when you guys are proving, you want to be super ultra neat, okay? So make sure I can follow your work. So f bubble g of x, so that means it's f quantity g of x. And our goal is it going to come out to be x later? That's really the question mark. So step number 2, g of x is this right here. So we want to take out g of x and put in -1/2 quantity x minus 1. Step number 3, now look at the f function. Every time you see an x in the f function, which there's only one, you will now substitute that whole x with this piece right here, which is going to be -1/2 times the quantity of x minus 1. From here, the rest is now just algebra component. We are going to multiply -2 times a -1/2, so it's going to be a +1 times x minus 1 plus 1, okay? But again, 1 times anything it's itself, so technically you don't even have to have that 1 in the front of the quantity. So we can combine like terms, and our last step is x, and we put a check because yes, it does come out to equal x. So now we do the same thing on the right side, g composed with f of x. Step number 1, by definition, it's g of f of x, and again we're trying to see, okay, does it really equal to x? Step number 2, g of, find what f is. F was this one right here, so we write it in 2x plus 1. Step 3, now look at the g function. How many x's do you see? Wherever and however many x's you see, then that's your substitution. You're going to go and substitute this right there, and that would be 2x plus 1. From here, you can distribute the -1/2, or you can combine like terms first. I feel easier if I were just to combine the +1 and -1. Those would turn into 0. And step number 5, a negative. Oh, you know what I did wrong? Sorry, go back and add this. See? I copied the question wrong, so this is a -2. Please add that on. So from there, I'm just going to distribute the -1/2 times a Negative 2x is now a positive 1x, which again checks. So how do we write your answer? Okay, the instruction says show that these equal to one another. So what you do is they do equal one another. So all you do is okay, f composed with g of x is g composed with f of x, which they both come out to be x. Well, we boxed this up, but technically that's really not, that's just a statement. The answer is in the work themselves, okay? So if the work, your steps are incorrect, and remember, I want you to number each step. So if your steps are incorrect, then I can't even give you any credit for writing this statement. So make sure your steps are correct. I need, when you're writing a proof, more steps are better than less steps. So do not skip any steps, even though you think it's easy, or you think, oh, you know what, she's gonna be able to read my mind or know how I came up with that. I want you to get out of that state of mind and know that, hey, you know what, I'm gonna write everything out just in case she does not know how to read my mind. Our last thing is check for understanding. This is again when you do this on your own. So go ahead and pause the video, give yourself a few minutes to see if you can prove it. What you might want to do is draw a line, and on this side you can do f of g of x and equals x, and on this side you can do g of f of x equals x, okay? And start with the first step. Go ahead and hit pause. This is our last video for this skill set, so I'm going to do the work right here and show you all the steps, but I want you to try it out first before you check your answer, okay? So hit pause. So for this check for understanding question, I have 4 steps altogether, and they happen to come out to be that they both equal to x. So we do need to write the final statement. F composed with g of x does equal to g composed with f of x, which they both come out to be x, and we box that up. And again, the answer is really not is not that statement that we box up. The answers are in the steps themselves. And this is the last video for composition of functions.